So the chapter 6 from 1711, and we are with Mr. Anil, and we are going to talk about the new changes in 1711 regarding the resources of accreditation body. So hello, Mr. Anil.
Hello.
We would like to talk about the chapter 6 in 1711, and we can see that there are some new requirements. We see that the risk-based assessment techniques that have to be known by the staff, assessors, everyone, and then we would like to understand what is these new things that are in human resources and resource of accreditation bodies requirements.
See, personally, I feel that substantively the requirements have not changed in the sense that we are already doing these things. Now they are more explicitly stated in the standard. In one respect, it's different is that in line with what's happening elsewhere in other standards, there's more focus on knowledge and skills. So what is the knowledge you need, what are the skills you need, which was not there earlier, and that's supplemented by the table which has been attached as an informative table, and it clearly sort of delineates the personnel who will do review of application and the personnel who will do actual audits and the personnel who will do decision making and review. Yes, there are requirements like the risk-based assessment, because that has come in the standard as a replacement for the previous assessment of key locations. So that is a knowledge that I think every accreditation body would have to acquire and apply, because while we may be doing it in certain forms, it is not the basis of our assessments. Now it has become the basis of assessments.
More formalized.
Yeah. So we need to put in more effort in understanding how the risk-based thinking would be applied to assessments and locations. Also, in terms of knowledge of schemes, I think it's getting harder and harder for ABs as more and more schemes are coming into play, especially even for management systems, for example. I mean, every other day we have a new management system standard and new certification starting, asset management, business continuity management, etc., etc. And same thing is true of product and personnel, where newer and newer schemes are coming up and the knowledge requirements are increasing. And we do not expect in any AB now, frankly, that there will be a single person who should be decision maker. It always should be a group of people. And collectively, if you can show evidence in your process that the review and decision is done by an independent set of people, I think that will satisfy the standard.
So that they know there's a scheme, they know, they have knowledge about the scheme, they also have to be able to understand the output of the assessment, I think, so that they can.
That's right, yes. And I think the easiest way of applying is if you have two assessors for a scheme. So one assessor is gone on site, the other one is part of the decision making and the reviews. That's the easiest way to apply. It's not a requirement. It's not a requirement that decision maker and reviewers should be assessors, but it's the easiest, administratively the easiest way of operating. That if you have two assessors for a scheme, one goes on site, the other one is part of the review and decision making process.
That's true, because if you have only one who's going to question his knowledge. So.
Yeah, if you're going to have only one assessor for a scheme, yes, there's going to be a problem. How do you find another person who can review his work and maybe find some technical expert? But if you have two assessors, I think the life is easy. It's not difficult.
So what about the monitoring part? So I've seen that in the standard, so there's something about monitoring personnel, not only the assessors, but also the personnel must be more formalized. And is that something?
Again, I would say that it was a requirement even earlier. I got an issue raised in my peer evaluation about monitoring of my accreditation committee members before this new version has come. So these were all implied requirements even earlier. Sometimes they have become more explicit.
Yes.
One thing which has changed in monitoring in this revision is that earlier it was silent on one assessor being on different schemes. Now it makes a clear reference that an assessor may be qualified for different schemes and he needs to be monitored for all the schemes.
So before, maybe accreditation bodies, they make one monitoring in 3 years for
Yes.
all the scope. But now it's more clear that if you have 25, 65, 21, then you have one monitoring for each one.
Yes, I have faced a situation in peer evaluation where an accreditation body argued that once in 3 years it doesn't require every scheme. But even today the standard does not require once in 3 years every scheme. What it requires is monitoring once in 3 years every scheme, not on-site observations once in 3 years for every scheme. Still that distinction is there. So we have to remember that. But it does require that for every scheme an assessor is authorized, he must be monitored for that. That is required.
Very good. So normally there's no big changes in our practice for this part of
I would imagine so, because I think even now when you're doing review and decision making, you have to have somebody who knows that scheme and who's familiar with that area in which the decision is being taken. So I don't think much has changed. And of course, I think we should mention that there's a clause on outsourcing also available.
Yes.
Although, we see very few accreditation bodies who are utilizing outsourcing as means, and therefore, that clause is hardly used and debated.
That's right. But it's there in case
it's there in this case.
But you have also to make clear that when you have additional experts or someone from outside, as we say, it's not
that's not outsourcing. Yes, hiring of experts, hiring of personnel in any place. It's possible to have not only assessors and technical experts who are engaged by you as external resource. In my accreditation body, our accreditation committee itself is composed of outsiders, and as long as they are under some kind of obligation or we own up their decisions, that's fine.
Very good. So we'll see now for these resources, we're going to use them in the process of accreditation. I think in the process of accreditation, there are some changes also that can be related to the resources available and how to make the key locations and these kind of new requirements that you can see in 17011. And with the next video, we'll go to the chapter 7 and see how it's going. So stay tuned.
Thank you.